Hey everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider. I'm here at our studio at Sundance. I want to give a huge thank you to Rendezvous Capital for being our sponsor, for allowing us to support indie cinema and all the movies at Sundance. I also want to give a huge thank you or mention that we are supporting LA Wildfire Relief Live, which is raising money for the horrific fires in California. And I'm just really happy to be partnering up with an organization like that and raising awareness, because it's really, a lot of people really need a lot of help. If you have the ability to donate, please visit lawildfirerelief.live. It really will help a lot of people. Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're good.
We're
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here celebrating some good things.
Yes. I really want to say a sincere congratulations on your movie. I thought it was so well done, and your performance is so fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
But I really want to start, I think, with the most important question, which is, and I wrote it down, you made a film back in 06 or 08 called Yeast.
08.
Is it 08? Okay, 08. And you had the Safdie brothers when they were like super young.
They were 2 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, they super young. And you also had Greta Gerwig when she'd done like barely anything. They seem to have landed on their feet.
Yeah.
You seem to have an eye for talent. Do you think Rose can have a career?
I think that if she tries really hard, maybe. Like,
Thank you,
if you make the right choices.
Thank you, Mary.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not working with her again, but
Appreciate you.
you know.
Yeah, I think you do have a little bit of an eye for talent. Just throwing that out there.
It is pretty crazy. The
I'm kidding.
The Yeast legacy of the, it's amazing.
The
It's
Yeast of
become
it
such
all.
a cult.
It's a cult
Kind of
favorite.
classic.
It's a cult classic.
It is, girl.
No, Rose is in this movie because she's the most talented person I could think of to do this role, which is a very difficult role, and she was able to do it. And
But that, like, okay, actually, before I've jumped ahead.
I got serious.
There's everyone watching this interview besides like 2 people will have not seen the movie. And I hate doing it, but like, how have you been describing it to friends and family?
That's really interesting. I mean, basically, it's a movie about a woman that cannot get on top of the everyday things in her life because trauma and crises keep stacking up. And so she cannot, there's many things that she's responsible for, and she cannot do any of them at this moment. But nobody is saying, you know what, take a rest, take a break. She has to keep going. And there's a breaking point. And that's what that's where we enter the movie, sort of.
I think that for me, I think everyone can relate, not just to what you're going through in the movie. And I think there's so much tension in the film, but I think it's so relatable to so many people. So the thing that I want to know so much is I love learning about how actors prepare for things. And you are so good in this. But the thing that I'm so impressed with is you are dealing with like this heightened sense of trauma the whole movie. And like, I believe it's like a 27-day shoot or something. And you are in like every frame and you are dealing with shit all the time. So what is it like as an actor to maintain that kind of emotional intensity for that many days of the shoot?
Well, I really didn't want to, mess it up. So I was just like, I cannot screw this up. I was so focused. We were lucky. We had a incredible period of rehearsal, which is so rare for a small movie or a big movie to even meet the other actor you're potentially working with. Or to work with the director. And Mary and I had over a month to just sit and work 3-4 days a week where we would just talk through every page, every piece of dialogue, everything. And my obsession was, who was Linda before this crisis? Who was the character before that? Who is the Linda that we can refer to? Like, she's a Linda, she's a Linda, she's a Linda. That was what I became my kind of obsession. And then from that, go, okay, that's how, because, trauma really, or stress reveals people, reveals how they react to things. It reveals their limitations. And she's reached a burnout point in this role as a caregiver, as a mother, obviously, specifically. But to your point, a lot of people have related to the film for other reasons, not just through the lens of being a mother, but through the lens of being a person. And that's what I think is such an achievement of Mary and her direction.
I have to do a follow-up, but what is it like maintaining that emotional intensity and then having to leave set and try to decompress for a few hours before you have to come back the next day and do it all again?
It was a fast shoot. We were all working really quickly. We'd worked so hard before, so we were just jumping off every day creatively. And I was thriving on the material. It was so exciting to have this thing to sink my teeth into. I felt spoilt. And I've got 2 small kids. And if I come home and I'm like, I'm shattered and I'm left with nothing, they're like, I don't give a shit. They're just like, Mom, can I tell you a thing? Mom, can I?
It's your ride home. Your ride home.
Yeah.
That's it. And then if you're a working parent, specifically artist, I think. Let's say specifically mother for right now. The ride home. That's it. That's what you have, because as soon as you open the door, your child wants their mother. You're their mother. They don't care that you're
and nor should they,
No, they don't. It's like you're coming home from any job, right? And so it's like there's no time to sort of navel gaze or whatever. Yeah.
So I definitely want to touch on the aesthetic choices you made in the film, because I found it so interesting that you have a lot of use of close-ups.
Yes.
And so can you talk about, as a director, why you wanted like close-ups to be so prevalent?
Yeah. I should start by saying that I had come to filmmaking through theater, through being I studied theater very seriously as a young person. I went to theater school, and I have such a love and reverie for performance, and I just feel like it's all here. It's all here, and for an act, not every actor can do that, right? But it's something that you can do with film that you cannot do with theater, because theater is big. It's playing to the back of the room. Film, we can get right in here. And I would tell Chris Messina, my DP, I want to feel like we are literally behind her eyeballs. This is her world. This is how she is experiencing the world. It may be the things that she's experiencing, another person is not experiencing it the same way. Maybe a sound is only something she can hear, but who knows? And those are that's sort of the work that I'm asking the audience to do with me, to go through the experience of the film.
I'm curious, because I'm not sure the lens you used or where you placed the camera, but where did you place the camera and what lens were you using? Because sometimes with actors, with the shots that you're pulling off, the camera, it's right here.
Yep.
And other times the camera is obviously across the room with like a certain lens. Nope. You know what I mean?
We were working on film, and the camera was wherever you are, however close you're seeing it, that's where the camera was. Literally sometimes right here.
Which leads me to my follow-up.
Yes.
What the hell was that like for you when you are trying to deliver and you know the camera is literally going to catch everything in your eyes and every little nuance in your face is going to be seen by the audience because it's such a close-up?
You just have to kind of disassociate a little bit.
You very kindly asked me on the first day, does it have to be this close? And I said,
I blocked that out.
And I said, yes, it does. And then she was like, okay. And then she had a minute. But literally, you're also hearing the physical film recording you. The camera is making a sound, and it's like you can hear yourself being recorded. So the ability to be as raw and free and as expressive and heightened and vulnerable as she was able to be with that machinery in her face. I mean, that's a whole technical level of acting that I can't even understand.
So
I became very good friends with our cinematographer.
Yes.
So I've interviewed countless actors, and some of them just cannot watch themselves on screen. They have to leave the theater. Totally. And so I'm curious, it's one thing to do a movie, let's say a Bridesmaids, where it's a wide shot and this, but this is very it's a different kind of role for you and a different kind of aesthetic. Yeah. You know what I mean? So what was it like for you watching the film for the first time, even though you knew the way it had been shot, but seeing what you were giving? Of
course. Well, I put it off for a long time, to be honest. I was completely nerve-wracked by it, and I don't love watching myself. I can see it once and then I'm good, or not even, I won't even watch it. It depends, case by case basis. And I just sat in the chair and didn't move. I knew she was up to something when she was directing this movie, and so was Chris Messina.
She watched it in a private screening room by herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sort of fell out afterward and was like, wow. And the film is so, it's so much bigger than, I don't mean to sound, I just mean that the film itself was so
extraordinary beyond just the character and what that what I brought to it. I think the film itself just blew me away, that I was so honored to be even in it,
I mean, yeah, and I as the director, part of my vision always was, I'm creating this world, I'm creating the story, I'm creating how it looks and feels and everything like that. But when somebody goes and sits in the theater, it's not my movie. This is Rose's movie. Rose's face is in almost every frame of the movie. It is her movie. She is sustaining that energy and interest and engagement for almost 2 hours just on her face. And I always said to those around me that like it's not going to be mine anymore. It's Rose's movie. It's her movie. It's your movie.
Stop it.
It is. It's your movie.
I could,
She doesn't take compliments well.
No, I just disagree. I think your voice is so clear as a filmmaker.
I was going to say that I think it's a combination of both of your work.
I am not dismissing my own work.
Don't get me wrong.
Well,
Hey, listen.
I'm just saying
I think you might have written it. You might have made some aesthetic choices, but I love talking about the editing process because of where it all comes together. So how did the film change in the editing room in ways you didn't expect going in?
Right. So I had actually written this. The script is like 2.5. I mean, if you do a minute per page, whatever, which I don't believe in, but that's another conversation. It was going to be a 2.5 hour movie, right? So I was, during the process of when we were prepping and making the schedule, blah blah blah. It's like, well, we need to drop a couple scenes. We can't do this. We need to drop a scene here. And I was like, no, I know that every scene won't make it in the movie. I need to shoot every scene. And so that was part of why we prepared so intensely. I was able to shoot every single scene to my satisfaction, but it was because we didn't have to have the conversations on set that we'd already had. We had a shorthand, and I had that with everybody, and it was sort of like, we're all in this together, let's do this. Then when I got in the editing room, Luke Johnston was my editor. He has edited Ari Aster's movies. He's editing his new one right now. He is such a talent. He got the movie. He understood the movie from the get-go. And so it was a whole other process of me and him in a dark room every day for months, rediscovering what the movie is. It's not the script anymore. It's not the experience on set. Now we're putting it together. And there were some things that I was sure would never get cut from the movie that I was like, yeah, we don't need that. And it goes. But for me personally, the way that my mind works is those things have to exist for me to decide if I can get rid of them yet.
100%. And also, to be honest, you want to make sure you have it. God forbid you need it.
Yes.
You
don't know what.
You really don't. But it also comes down to like, how many days do you have on set? Do you have the money to film these things? Or do you have to make those tough choices of, it's a 20-day shoot. We originally had 23.
Right. I was lucky that it was a very demanding schedule. It was very demanding. But everybody, I was so lucky. I was surrounded by the best crew of people who was just, it felt like we're all in this together. Like, let's do it. We're going to do this. And there was that energy, and that enabled it to happen. Very young, energetic.
Robust.
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm a big fan of Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
And I definitely have to, it was great seeing him at the Q&A yesterday. So what was it, though, that you saw in Conan that you're like, he can be a therapist and he can do this?
Sure. I mean, first off, I've been in and out of therapy for most of my life. I've had good therapists. I've had bad therapists. I've had whatever, everything. And so a part of this movie is very much about sort of like helpers not helping. And Conan, I've been a big fan of his since his show first aired in like '93 as a teenager. It hit me so hard, and been a super fan of his. And he's like one of those sort of like untouchable showbiz people to me, because I work on such a small level till now. But anyway, it would be like approaching Tom Cruise and being like, hey, like I have this idea. But anyway, I was listening to his podcast one night, and he was interviewing David Letterman, both two idols of mine, as far as their intellect and their comedy ability and whatever. And I was listening to it, and both their voices calmed me so much. And I was like, well, it's because I've been listening to these two men, their voices, but giving me enjoyment for the better part of my life, you know? Sure. And I thought, wow, if Conan gave me advice, I would take it without question. And so in the script, though, Linda does not take the therapist's advice, ever. And there's a discussion to be had whether he's even giving the right advice. We don't know. But I thought that would be so interesting, but it was a bananas idea. And I took the risk, and he got the script. He responded to it very deeply. And his whole thing was like, I've never done this before, but that's why I want to do it. I'll try it. And you can fire me if I'm bad, basically. And I was like, but there's a sensitivity to Conan O'Brien as a human being that I think comes across more in the podcast than was able to in the shows, that you very sensitive, very smart, very empathic. And I knew he could do it. And he performed some parts of the script that I wrote that I thought were unperformable. And he did it. And he's amazing.
I want to do a follow-up on Conan, if you don't mind, and that is he has very famous hair. Yep. And I'm just curious about, like, how did you decide his hair in the movie? And you know what I mean?
I said, you're not going to have that hair, buddy. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, he said, I always said, this is my hair. It's always my hair. And I said, well, this is not you. So what's the opposite? And the opposite is parted and slicked, right? And it takes away that sort of I'm Conan O'Brien sign, even though it's and the other thing was the glasses. To add the glasses was his idea, and the wardrobe. It's very buttoned up, very slick, combing his hair kind of guy. Very completely opposite from the human being of Conan O'Brien. But I felt it had to be that for him to be able to be a different guy.
I actually 100% think that you made the right decision, because if he had his hair, all you would see is Conan.
And I didn't want that. I wanted it to be Conan O'Brien. O'Brien. Look, it's been a long day.
We're on the same page.
No, his look is so famously a part of him.
Yeah.
That part of also surrendering to the role and surrendering to I'm the making the choices was taking that away from him. And he was totally willing.
I definitely want to ask you, you play stoned and drunk in the movie. And
impeccably.
Yeah, and it's like flawless. And I'm just curious, like, what the hell is it like the days before you're going to step on set playing that kind of performance where, like making it feel real and not like you're in a movie?
So hard to do.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do.
That's why that's why I want to know, like, what was it?
I think it's really hard. I mean, it's great to always look at real footage of people, that's fabulous about the internet, isn't it? You can find any kind of, but there's always behavioral giveaways and tics that people have if they're stoned or they're drunk. There was a chart we had with my brilliant makeup artist, Sarit Klein, where we charted Linda's decline physically on the face of, like, she was stoned here, she had 2 hours sleep, because it's constant, this thing, and we had to keep track of it, like, where are we, how much hours sleep, and we're not shooting in order. So I relied very heavily on that, just technically, to remember where we were, and Sarit and I and Mary really creating the look, which can easily slip into something not believable, the look of someone who's not sleeping and not, and drinking and smoking pot and stuff. So that was something we were all sort of constantly reassessing and checking in on. And,
And also, when we talked about how the performance would be, a very key for me that I think she pulls out flawlessly is that thing where a certain type of person that is like fall down drunk, except they believe that nobody else notices. And they're just like, and they're sort of acting hyper normal. It's super not normal. And Linda.
And what type of drunk you are? Does it bring out the worst in you, the best in you, the boring in you? Because everyone, it brings out other different things in different people. So
I've never noticed that. No, never.
Everyone's a pleasant drunk.
Right.
Everybody's a lovely
I also, this is going to sound, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I do think what you're drinking can determine the mood you are when you are drinking. Yeah. When you're drunk.
Yeah. Linda is white wine. She sticks to it. It works. Yep. It's her buddy. She's going to have it. Yeah. And that's a very particular type of alcohol habit, and it's a very particular type of drunk. I wouldn't know. Neither of us would know anything about it.
I've never drank wine.
I read about it one time.
Never. And it's not like there's wine right there. Anyway, sorry. So you see, we have a wine bar here. So you have the shooting schedule in front of you. For both of you, what day did you have circled in terms of, I can't wait to film this? And what day did you have circled in terms of, how the F are we going to film this?
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but the ending sequence was quite a risk-taking adventure in many ways that we weren't quite sure how, right? Like,
I'm only laughing because I have the same answer.
I want to talk about specifically the ending, and I'm not allowed because no one has seen it.
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, but
it's a very physical. Let's just say this: people could have died.
I was watching it.
Now you're really going to get in trouble.
No, I was watching it yesterday and was like, how the F are you filming this?
Not really. We were very safe and everything was like that.
No, of course we were. But
it was that type of thing.
It was that type of, and we're all talking about it, and there was a lot of anticipation of
and that was both the thing I had. I was at the mercy of nature, let's say.
Yeah.
And nature delivered to me that night.
Yeah. No, it's again, when the movie is coming out and we can talk specifics,
I would love to.
I will 100% love to talk about this because I was like, what? I have so many things I want to say. So just real quick, because I'm just about out of time. I think they've already given me the wrap up. But you are doing a lot of other stuff. What's coming up for you this year in terms of what you're filming? What's getting ready?
Well, I'm doing a limited series in May and June with Megan Fahey and Brendan Gleeson, which I'm very excited about. My friend Bruna Papandreou is producing it.
Is it The Good Daughter?
The Good Daughter,
I wrote
based
that
on
down.
Karen Slaughter's novel. We have an amazing director, Steph Green, and she's an incredible writer, bestseller, New York Times bestseller, and she's also written all of the episodes of the show. So we're starting casting the rest of that, and we start up in May. So that's what I've got coming up so far.
I was going to say, I don't think people understand how much better it is for everyone when all the scripts are ready, and you can block shoot or shoot. It's just such a better shoot for everyone. It's amazing more shows don't do it.
Yeah, I know, and I just finished season 2 of Platonic with Seth again, so that was lovely to work with him again. It just made me think, because it's the scripts, because that's such a different process with comedy, and it's always evolving, and it's a very fluid way that we work on those shows. So it's great to be able to mix it up and do lots of different
Also,
things.
Seth likes to improvise, and I've never seen him do that. But
Really?
but he is such a different performer in terms of finding things in the moment.
Yeah.
You
You gotta stay on your feet. I know, he always keeps it fresh. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
Listen,
he's awesome.
I really want to say a sincere congrats. I think you did such a great job, both of you. And I'm really happy that you are at Sundance and all the love that you're getting. And I wish you guys nothing but the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Lovely interview. Thank you for such thoughtful questions.